I think we can start. Um, yeah. So, Assalamu alaikum and with SR Asia International Dialogue 2020 webinar series. This is really inspiring for us about the feedback we received from people from different countries after launching this event yesterday. And your inspirational work is leading us to work more in the area of sustainability, especially to support industries to mitigate the crisis when there is a question of value chain disruption. So thank you everybody who are watching this webinar live in different social platform and also the participants who registered. I am really happy to bring the prominent speakers today on board. And you know, this is something create value to someone's professionalism when she or he asks a prominent person to support in different endeavors. And the asking person is not denied. So Almighty Allah gives me that respect that when I called Mr. Majid and also Pallavi to contribute to this webinar within a short notice, it is very short notice, then they didn't deny me. Thank you, Pallavi and Majid, Mr. Majid. So let me introduce our today's speaker on board. I will read from my notes now so that I won't make any mistake to say about their profile. Today we have Ms. Pallavi Atri, Mr. K. M. Majedur Rahman, Dr. Samardanta Pusaka, and also Mr. Birendra Ratri. Yes, so let me introduce with Ms. Pallavi Atri at the very outset. Pallavi is in the field of corporate sustainability and her focused area, working area is sustainability reporting. She mainly assists companies to design, plan, and implement their sustainability strategies through projects led across environment impact assessment, climate change, EHS management system, sustainable supply chain, and sustainability reporting like GRI, CDP, DJSI. So at present, I think that, just a minute, I think that the speakers, if you can on your video, then people can see. Hello, can you hear me? Okay,
well.
Thank you, Pallavi. So everybody stopped their video. So I was really confused whether it is on or not. We are now in a technical, we are now using the technology. So always we are thinking whether we are okay or not. Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, yes. So I was talking about Pallavi. So she mainly assists companies to design, plan, and implement their sustainability strategies through projects led across environmental impact assessments, climate change, EHS management systems, sustainable supply chains, and sustainability reporting like GRI, GDP, DJSI. At present, she is working with Global Reporting Initiative. We know this is called GRI in short, which is an international organization. She is certified lead auditor on OHSA 18001 and an international trainer and also expert on GRI standard. So now let me introduce with Mr. K.A.M. Majidur Rahman. Mr. Rahman has over 3.5 decades experience in banks, stock exchange, and financial consulting in 4 geographies. Mr. Rahman is the former managing director of Dhaka Stock Exchange Limited. His sequel working experience as CEO of local and foreign bank in Bangladesh and senior management positions in corporate trade, SME, and retail banking business, transformation of business, risk management, process re-engineering, put many hats on him. I think so. Lots of things. There is nothing to say about Dr. Samardanta Pusaka, though I think Danta is now not available, but he is coming after short time. But I introduce him now. He is already known as what he is. However, Dr. Samantanta Pusaka is a co-founder of SR Asia and country director of SR Asia Indonesia. He is also the co-founder of PT Econ Global Indonesia. He graduated from De La Silla University, Manila, Philippines. He is a knowledgeable professional in sustainability and social responsibility. Some of his area of experience are ISO 26000, which is a guideline of social responsibility. It's a concrete guideline of social responsibility, social return on investment, sustainable finance, sustainability reporting, integrated reporting, and assurance as per AA 1000 standard series. He has been serving various industry sectors such as oil and gas, mining, palm oil, pulp and paper, cement, and financial services. Aside from his consulting works, he is also engaged as the expert of different organizations such as Asian Productivity Organization Japan, Indonesia Global Compact Network, in the International Labor Organization, and International Finance Corporation. He is known as a lecturer affiliated with the Isa Unggula University, Jakarta, Indonesia. But so far I know, currently he already joined as a vice dean of a reputed university in Jakarta. Now, if I start saying about Virendra Raturi, then I may not finish in a half an hour. So better to say very few words about him. Mr. Virendra Raturi currently is working as an international director with SR Asia. He is also director with QSIS Solution Private Limited and trustee with Foundation for Business Competitiveness, which is a think tank on business competitiveness. So Mr. Raturi is also a member of various committees with government and institutions. Virendra, by qualification, is an electronic engineer and MPhil in microwave engineering and communication from Delhi University, India, and a certified master expert coach from CBI, the Netherlands government. He is certified lead auditor from IRCA UK and from APO Japan on international standards and business. He has worked with over 200 MSME, many medium and large private sector organizations. He has been consultant and expert with Asian Development Bank, Asian Productivity Japan, Center for Promotion of Imports from Development Countries, CSB, the Netherlands government, Invent Germany, etc. Some of the governments such Ministry of Urban Development, NTPC, NHPC, THDC, Coal India, Indian Oil, Indra Pradesh Gas Corporation, he directly worked and continued to serve such and many more accounts. He is hands-on with sustainability reporting assurance as per AA 1000, CSR reports, business responsibility reporting, CSR project management and sustainable development, organizations restructuring, joint venture collaboration, export marketing, intellectual communication, trade promotion to Europe Union, process improvement and change management, ISO system development and certification, coaching, counseling, support and certification. Virendra, you took a lot of time of mine for telling your profile. So thank you all of you to be with us and contribute your valuable time. Today, we will discuss with the speakers how sustainability report can mitigate the company's value chain disruption. especially in Bangladesh, when sometimes I talk to my clients, I used to ask them, what is the percentage of loss in production? Some say overall 4%, some say 3%, some say more and more. And they think this is very normal and it is okay with them. But if we can give a solution to be more productive and reduce this percentage, then when it converts to value, you will find a big amount, a very big amount. So during this COVID-19, all business leaders are in really in a trauma. I can say in a trauma and trying to find best solution or maybe not a best solution, but a solution for a new normal. So, but what if we are prepared and always keep preparation for any kind of sudden disruption? We never know when anything will come in, and this time how businesses are going in the in this current situation. So sustainability report is not only a report or a publication of what a company performed in a positive way, but it is also a way to find the negative performance of the company so that the company can get the opportunity to analyze the gap and associated risk and also can think about the solution. Now I think that we can discuss a more and lot about this issue, and the experts are here, speakers are here, and they can contribute more with their immense experience. So, Pallavi, may I ask you that what are the ongoing initiative of GRI and what are the current GRI intervention in different countries right now?
Hello, thank you, Sumaya, for setting that context, and thank you, SR Asia, Mr. Raturi, Sumaya, and all of you for having Global Reporting Initiative here on this panel today. Very eager to share my thoughts and, of course, what we as an organization do. So for them, Sumaya allows me to, introduce my organization, which is Global Reporting Initiative, and a couple of them who might not be aware of this initiative. We are an independent international organization. We provide a global common language for corporate transparency, which is also known as sustainability reporting. We help businesses, especially businesses and all other organizations to first of all understand what their sustainability impacts are and then communicate it, internally and externally in an effective way. And we deliver this through our standards, which are popularly known as GRI standards, which is most adopted across the world and which is freely provided and is a public good. We are here for 20 years now, and we have GRI is referenced in 168 policies across 60 plus countries, which indicates that the extent of its adoption. We have around 75% companies, which are largest 250 companies who used GRI sustainability reporting framework. And last year we had around 200,000 plus unique downloads of GRI standards, which indicates the kind of interest that has been shown over the period. I represent GRI South Asia Regional Hub, and we are headquartered in Delhi, India. We have the GRI headquarters is in Netherlands, and its regional spread is across the globe with 7 regional hubs, and 3 of them are in Asia, South Asia, ASEAN countries, and Greater China is the coverage. And there are three more country desks of GRI, which is in Indonesia, Vietnam, and Philippines. Having said that, we have around 90% S&P indexed companies who use GRI framework today. So it is we are here for 20 years, and we clearly have largest following adoption and connectivity with the governments, with the capital markets, policymakers, and etc. In terms of, as Sumaya, you have asked, like, what are our key, initiatives currently going on? As I told you that, we are headquartered in Netherlands, but we have a spread across the globe, and each regional hub is, trying to bring best out of, their network, and, best out of what is required in that particular region. And you being representative of SR Asia, you know how there is a lot of variety among Asian countries itself, and the requirements differ. But in nutshell, I would like to tell you that, we are abreast with the policy changes that are happening over the globe, across the globe, and we keep a track of it. And we have just launched a publication which is called as Carrots and Sticks, which lists down all the policies in all the countries of the world, and this has been launched in July. We also keep updating GRI standards, which is a core of what we actually do. And we have recently updated tax standards, and you might be aware of that we have also updated the standards on waste, which is actually relating to the concept of circular economy. Uh, and we are also looking at sector standards. So the pilot on oil and gas and agriculture is already on its way. Uh, so apart from that, we also truly believe that world doesn't need more confusion in terms of, the frameworks that are in market and cropping up every few months. And thus we are working towards convergence of these different frameworks, and we are already just begin. And we are working with IR, CDP, and SASB on this matter. We are also recently launched a framework on culture for health for business, which is very relevant to current situation, the pandemic situation. This work is done with Robert Woods Johnson's foundations in USA, but it has relevance to all the countries, and it is focusing on what our businesses can actually take up as a practice to actually have a culture of health rather than having a very ad hoc and siloed approach. And due to the current pandemic situation, the focus is lot on health, so it has picked up a lot of interest among the businesses. In terms of South Asia, we work very closely, and that's our focus has been for a couple of years, and now it's continued. We work with stock exchanges, and Mr. Majid has been our, have been a part of our work with Dhaka Stock Exchange. We have released a guidance document for companies in Bangladesh, listed companies in Bangladesh, how they can easily adopt to GRI standards. Likewise, we have done it in India as well as in Sri Lanka. In South Asia, the focus is in South Asia regional hub focus is in India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal. And of course, we wish to, expand to neighboring countries. And also our current focus is from South Asia is on SDGs, and we do work with the leading progressive organizations towards achieving the SDG Agenda 2030 South Asia, objectives. So this is in nutshell, as I mentioned that, a lot of regional hubs and lot of great work going on within GRI, of course, in collaboration with organization, and very happy to be collaborated with, SR Asia as well on the project that we are doing with the RMG sector. So that's, in short, what we are doing currently. Sumaya, you are not audible. You are on mute.
I am very old. Still now I could not adjust the technology. However, so Pallavi, thank you. Thank you very much. In a nutshell, you gave a very broad description. And yes, we are really also happy to work with GRI in Bangladesh in a project in RNG sector. So it is really challenging for us during this COVID-19 also, what is happening there. So, what are the key aspects, Pallavi, that what are the key aspects of disaster resilience in business and corporate management? Do you think about this, and also how sustainability report can help corporate to combat this kind of situation?
Okay, so am I audible?
Yes, yes, yes,
Sorry.
yes, I can hear.
Okay, when we call disaster, there could be a different type of disaster, but now I just focus the general view of disaster and also the current situation pandemic. What I think is that the key components, if I see what constitute or what makes an organization resilient, would be, first of all, the continuity, the way they handle their business continuity and the risk the way they manage their risk. Also, how they manage employee well-being and company survival has been the immediate priorities for this organization. This is what we, see currently in the companies. Also focusing on the employee perspective and the future on, of the workplace. So that also becomes, one of the key components of the resilience. Then how do businesses reduce inequalities? How are they contributing to, reducing inequalities that we see, in all the countries in, in various ways. And I would say that women are also compromised when we are talking about inequalities in the, in the disaster conditions. And one of the research which I came across, I found that, women are in fact working women with low income sector are compromised much than the other women. For obvious reasons, they are exposed, or the expectation from them is to cater to the needs of when everybody is working from home, and they are exposed most to the patients, the COVID patients. Also, some of the sectors where working in close proximity is the requirement. For example, RMG sector in Bangladesh, where the social distancing norm becomes compromised. So how are these issues being handled in terms of building resilience? Then are environmental key performance indicators getting compromised, because now there is a lot of focus on social aspect. Requirement. For example, RNG. Yeah, so there is lot of focus shifted from environment to social, which is good, but does that mean that the environmental key performance indicators which was set by the organizations are getting compromised? And how is overall organization's contribution to overall economic recovery of the country? So these are some of the aspects. Last but not the least, I would want to mention that how is supply chain strong and resilient to the disruption. So this is something that is forms a key component of of the resilience, I would say.
Okay. Yeah, Pallavi, you pointed out a very important thing, that whether the company will compromise this kind of activities due to COVID-19, we must say we should not compromise, because we cannot think avoiding all this issue. Because whenever we talk about sustainability report, that means it also includes social issue, environmental issue, and also economic issue. So these three pillar and also the governance will come. So these three pillar, if we neglect one pillar, then other two pillar will not work. So when we talk about the disaster issue, it also impacts social performance of the organization, economic and environmental issues. So we have to take care of all the issue, and if we have the preparation and we can forecast what can be done, and in any kind of situation what we have to do, all kind of preparation we have, then I think that 100%, not 100%, but at least minimum we can do something, right?
Yes,
So
Sumaya. And here I would like to add that, as you mentioned, that if the companies are prepared, then they have a better chance of, being emerge as a resilient organization. And reporting does have a role to play here. We have done a study right at the middle of the pandemic across the globe, and we reached out to companies and spoke to them, and we found very similar kind of trends, and we found that organizations who are already familiar with the sustainability reporting are experienced with the activities that will be crucial, which emerging from the pandemic, and they will successfully come out of these problems which are emerging out of it. And reporting with GRI standards provides evidence to stakeholders that the organizations are taking holistic approach. They have risk assessment, and rather than focusing only on the financial risk, they are already taking care of or have an approach towards sustainability or ESG management. And a report is often assumed to be the end goal, which is actually not the case. It is actually, what is important is the process, and process of creating it is going to build what we call it as as resilience within the organization. So reporting does have a role to play in it.
yeah. Okay, thank you, Pallavi. Our team is collecting questions if there is questions from attendees, and also people are watching this webinar in different social media. If there is any question, so we will raise this question after the way after discussing with all the speakers. Okay. So audience and also the participants, if you have any questions, you can write in this chat box, and also you who are watching in Facebook, you can write in the post in comment section. Mr. Majidur Rahman, are you alive? I can't see you. Mr. Majid. Okay, so I think that we can talk to Dr. Danta, and then I will come to Mr. Majid. So
Yeah.
Danta, we missed you while
Hello.
introducing you, but I already introduced with you with all of the people who are watching here, and also the attendees. So Mr. Majid is here, so I think we can start with Majid, and then I will come back to Danta.
Yes,
Okay?
yes,
Yeah.
please.
Okay, so Mr. Majid, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
very much. I can hear you.
Okay.
But internet disruptions. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you. Welcome back. Okay, Mr. Majid, I was just talking to you quite a few, and that day also we discussed in different areas on the field in the field of sustainability. So, as you are the main driver to develop a sustainability reporting guideline for listed companies when you are in DSC as a managing director, so what do you envisage about corporate interest to publish sustainability report according to DSC SR guideline, and how actually companies get benefited by publishing sustainability report? What is your viewpoint?
Well, I'm sorry, there's a lot of internet disruptions. I'm not sure whether I can continue uninterrupted, but let me give you my version in very simple words. Basically, because our viewers and listeners, I want to speak in very plain language for their understanding. In financial systems, where I spent almost like more than 3.5 decades, I would say that a lot to do with the financial institutions in care to the environment and in general the ESG standards. So what we did at Dhaka Stock Exchanges, the top companies are listed and the companies have an accountability to its shareholders. So that's where the large companies with their responsibility to the shareholders as well as the end beneficiaries of the company's production system. I thought something was very important that they have a responsibility towards the mother nature. They have a responsibility towards the ESG standards. They have a responsibility to be accountable for everything they do, which has an impact on the carbon footprint. So there are aspects that we looked at. One is how a company can benefit from within by following the ESG standards. And number two, the external benefits the companies achieve through compliance with the ESG standards. Internal benefits, one has a satisfaction that we are doing, we are working, we are into a production system where we are careful, we are responsible to our resources, and we are not creating a dent to the resources available to the entire system, as a matter of fact. In our study, we also found out the employees internally do care about, which company I work for and how are they responsive to the overall resources available within our ecosystem. And I have seen that companies are complying with let me give you a direct example of, say, for example, in our country, Bangladesh is very famous for garments. And in garments, we had a time when, unfortunately, we had effluent being flown into river systems, polluting the river water. And as a result, the fisheries in the river systems were badly affected. So that directly impacts. And when people have seen it, they come back with a kind of an impression. This particular company, if not being responsible, then why would I support them? Why would I even work for them? So that's where an internal awareness that has come in within the employees and within the people that involves in the management of the company has come up with a awareness response that I work for a company which abides by standards. In external benefits, we also have found out that nowadays do look at companies which are more responsive to the nature, more responsive to ESG standards. Even in investing, big problem with our internet. So is basically in external environment as well. We have seen how the investors react to companies who do not comply with responsive attitude to the nature. So we found that it's a time, it's something that we must introduce whereby the companies can be rated by their response to ESG standards. And there also has been a challenge that how do we rate, how do we come out with their the range of compliance with the ESG standards. So then within the company, I mean, we have to look at whether we have a management tool, whether we have the adequate systems to rate, to find out, what is being done by our action. So it was one thing, an internal challenge, and that's where we have to introduce a guideline whereby companies could follow that these are the prescribed areas, these are the way how a company could comply with the ESG standards. The other way around, we find exactly the rewarding response from our investors when we find that company is compliant and they're following the standards prescribed by global reporting measurements. There is a better response to their shares. There is better response to invest in that company. And even those companies, when they are raising capital, when they're asking for facilities, financial facilities for their business, they are rated on how do they how they interact with the nature, with resources. One of the examples that I can tell you is that the banks in our country, they are reporting in regard to their financing to energy compliant, ESG compliant business, and to what extent they have found that they can save their carbon emission. So I think that was something very important, that we should really respond as responsible people, that we should introduce a guideline, and that prompted us to introduce a guideline with help of GRI. And I think this has been a pretty good value addition to the industries in the financial systems in Bangladesh.
Yes, to add with Mr. Majid, I, as a general client of a bank, I also see that when as a consulting organization or as an expert, when I talk to any bank or any financial sector, and they are thinking that yes, we are publishing a report, yes, financial report, annual report we always have, but now clients are very smart. Stakeholder, if we think that yes, our stakeholder is only the regulator, only the government, and only the investor, then I think that the bank need to be also smart, and they think in a different way, because customer is a very big and major stakeholder of the bank. So always customers are very much curious about the risk of the bank, because now the current situation of banking sector, the corruption and also other issues, bankruptcy. So people are very scared to keep the money in the bank, and then where people will keep the bank money. So that's the now this is the opportunity for banks. I think that if they can publish their reports, and also they are transparent to their customers, then this is also a big opportunity for the banks, that they will get trust from the clients also. So yes, I think that, as you also mentioned in different areas, then the benefits of the organizations to about sustainability report, and also yes, I think I must say that your achievement, but I must say that it is your driven works that you start yours to publish, make a guideline for DSE in listed companies. So yeah, thank you. I will come back to you, Mr. Majid. I have another question to you. Before that, I am going to Dr. Samardanta Pusaka. I am really interested to ask you one question. But challenges issue I already discussed with you yesterday. But today I think that we can discuss about the SR Asia Drafting and Assurance Service of which we are going to start as a global certification program. So, Dr. Semandanta Pusaka, can you share with us that do you have any solution to digitalize the SR drafting and assurance service to cope with this current pandemic situation, and how it will benefit the professionals, and how the professionals can take it as a full-time career or part-time career?
Okay, sorry. Okay, it was still in mute. Okay. Thank you, Sumaya and Birendra, and Mr. Majid and Pallavi. Thank you for this session. Well, I would like to share that today, just about 30 minutes ago, okay, we had a webinar in Indonesia, and we discussed about the future of accessibility report and integrated report writers and assurers. Okay, so SR Asia has engaged in different projects in delivering assurance services on accessibility report and integrated reports of companies in different industry sectors, especially in Indonesia. We also did that in other countries such as India and Malaysia, but Indonesia has a very progressive numbers in terms of clients, the companies who would like to get the assurance, SR Asia assurance services. Okay, so nowadays we know that because of the pandemic, we have a limitation in doing activities, including our assurance services. Previously, we engaged with clients directly. We visited them, yeah, and we discussed in the meeting rooms, yeah. But now, of course, we have to do it online. We are doing insurance from our home, yeah. So we need innovation in that. We have to utilize digitalization. So this is the first year that SR Asia delivering assurance service online. We have the SR Asia grade.com. It is a digital platform that provides information about SR Asia assurance services and certification. And we also have SR Asia Grade Assurance tool that enable us to carry out assurance online. So in srasia-grade.com, we have assurance tool that give us some working platform with a number of questions, indicators regarding the standards or guidelines that we use to perform the assurance service. Okay, so this is a new, we can say that this is a new approach in doing assurance, because previously we did that offline. You previously used the Excel, Microsoft Excel format. Now we can do that online, and we can do assurance in parallel. If under one project we assign 2 experts to perform the assurance service, they can they can assess the report in parallel together at the same time. Yeah. And by having this platform also, we can we can carry out assurance project across the countries. For example, if Sumaya has an assurance project in Bangladesh, and then she sends me the the report, and then both Sumaya and I can do the assurance project, can assess the report and put our analysis in our assurance tool in parallel together. So right now when we talk about assurance service, you know, the time and space, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We have different time across the countries. Yeah. So it means that we have to be adaptable in our situations. Yeah. Different different companies in different companies in different countries with different time setting. Yeah. you know so this is something that we would like to promote. We would like to encourage to other experts in terms of accessibility reporting. Yeah. Okay. So that is my point, Sumaya. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Danta. I think that you will have more detailed discussion about this assurance platform, which is
Certification.
great.
Oh.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
certification. On 16th September, you have another, and also you will have a presentation over this. But in a nutshell, if you want to show the small video of that assurance, I think that it will be more clear to the participants and also the speakers here.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's. What do you think? Should I share one slide about the certification framework? What do you
That would
think?
be nice. That would be nice.
Okay.
Just one slide.
Because actually I would I actually I prepared this slide for the September 16.
A slide means I am just wanting to show the participants that
Ah,
the what is that, the great platform, just great
okay.
platform, how we don't need to show how we work the in a very detailed way, but just a platform.
Mhm.
If you show the digital platform, I think it will be
Okay.
easy for the participant to understand how it will be work.
Okay. Okay. One slide. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Wait. Yeah. Okay. So we can say that Estarisha grade is a integrated solution. Yeah. We can say it is an integrated solution because um, oops, sorry. Can you see? Yeah. Can you see my slide?
Yes, we can see.
Yeah. Well, people can visit our website in www.srasia-grade.com. Yeah. Well, if you take a look at our website, you can see a lot of information there about our assurance service, about certification, about writing program, but not yet published there, but it will be there, about writer's profile, about the assurance profile. Yeah, we are still working on it. So this SRSA grade is designed for the companies and also both the professionals. Yeah, to get information about this. Okay, by having this information, the companies will have access to the professionals. Okay, for the professionals, if they are the certified assurer, they can sign in. They can get signed in into the srshagrade.com, and they can access the assurance tool to perform the assurance service on the company's report. Okay, so SRSha grade is updated referring to the standards and indicators development. So every year, we, of course, we update the isarisiagrade.com. Yeah. Okay. So what we are doing now, we are strengthening the professionals. We just had launched the Esaresia Global Certification Program, consisting of 2 levels. Level 1 is for certified writer, yeah, and level 2 is for the certified assurers. So Esaresia Grade is not just a digital platform, but it becomes a global hub, yeah, for the companies and professionals in terms of getting engagement for assurance service, for certification development, for the benchmark, how to benchmark companies to others based on particular sustainability indicators, yeah, to get information about the certified writers and assurers, getting the sufficient resources for the companies. So this is what Esaresia is doing now. Yeah. Okay, Sumaya. That's all I can explain up to now.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll
Thank you. Thank you.
save the best for last on September 16th. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Danta. So if you can close the screen sharing.
Yeah.
So yes, coming back to Mr. Majid, I had a question to you.
Yes, please.
That do you think that companies in Bangladesh are ready to, yeah, do you think that companies in Bangladesh are ready to get assurance of their sustainability report? Because now banks are publishing sustainability report, and also in January or February, we had a big program under your supervision, and you organized a program on sustainability reporting master trainer program. So what do you think, that do you think that that companies in Bangladesh are ready to get assurance of their sustainability report, and what is your suggestion to companies in SR publishing and assurance?
Let me make one statement. This is mainly related to sales and marketing. Everything in life, end of the day, has some marketing and profit making and some benefits to come in, kind of issues associated. I will say first, create an interest. Number 2, engage the prospects. Number 3, negotiate. Number 4, close the deal. So in simple, first of all, we have to really, like Dr. Pusaka, with a very simple slide, made us understand, how simple and how easily the measurement assurance can be done. So that's where, one has to first know. If I say right away that, yes, people are all waiting for it, I don't think, I would be saying I'd be saying the truth. I would say that, let's come and engage with the companies. Let's invite them on a webinar. When pandemic is over, let's invite them for a cup of tea, or you can even engage on a one-to-one basis. If we make them understand and the benefits out of it, definitely they would be interested. Now, let me tell you about the evolution of reporting. Is basically in Bangladesh, it started with the financial industry because the regulators wanted they should be following certain guidelines on environmental risk management. And there was a rating system as well. It was all manual, it was all Excel based, or it was all absolutely paperwork. But with gradually, slowly, from the financial industry to other industries, they started following because the banks wanted them to follow certain standards. I can quote one simple example. The banks wanted any establishment, I mean, any industry to have minimum 5% of their energy use through the solar systems. So, you know, I mean, it was the very simple beginning, and then we started quantifying. I mean, what is actually 5%? Maybe it was not exactly 5%, but you know, it started. It started with, you know, I mean, using the security lights, using the external lights from the solar sources, and now it is going more into the use of energy, the use of water resources, the use of carbon emission, etc., etc. So that's where, you know, people are gradually moving on to more and more advanced solutions. And I'm very hopeful, and I can tell you this much, that yes, people will be interested. Companies would be interested. But of course, I mean, we have to communicate to them that, you know, this is a nice, unique solution available. And of course, I mean, GRI is there always with us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Majed. We are close to end this webinar. So, Mr. Virendra Raturi, I am seeking your attention. I cannot see you. Hello, Mr. Virendra. Yeah. So, Virendra, can you share with us your experience in India on sustainability report and how companies are working on sustainability report and assurance? Because you are also dealing with some companies who are working on reporting system.
Virendra, you are still in mute.
Mute.
Please unmute.
Yes, I can unmute.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sumaya. Okay. Well, I think we had Pallavi Atre who shared already enough information on what is happening in this part of the world. Of course, I would say India has been reporting pretty well in many senses. GRI had a great success in India, so I would think that in the ASEAN region, South Asia, as regards to the reporting, India has been doing pretty well. As I understand from Majidur Rahman, I think as he was being instrumental in Dhaka Exchange for motivating companies doing good things. I would say these are good things, you know, reporting would be a good things. So in that sense, we also have our own regulation system. So now our SEBI has mandated the first top 1,000 companies to mandatorily report in one form or the other. They prescribe BRR, which is called Business Responsibility Reporting. So it has to happen. So let's say that since SEBI is asking for it, and there are 1,000 companies, the top 1,000 companies, then they have no choice but to report. So, but they are reporting. So in that sense, the another change which has come that SEBI has been asking now, not now, but I think it has been already quite some time for integrated reporting. So that's a change, that's a shift. And we are still, I would definitely concede that there's a lot of churning happening, you know, that what kind of a format one would make when making the integrated reporting. So reporting non-financial part into the integrated reporting. So I think that's the area where there's a lot of progress happening. As such, I do not find any relaxations by any of our regulatory agencies making any kind of a relaxations whatsoever in any kind of a compliances or to say reporting. such reporting. But I think there are very, very interesting things happening now. I understand that there will be a lot of shift in a way we were reporting, and in a way the reporting is to be done. What I think is the realization right from a poor man on the street, or a poor citizen, or a wealthy citizens to say, it has come a very fair understanding now that we and each of us has to survive, be it a pandemic or be it any kind of a given situations. I think this particular understanding, this kind of a halt, I would call it. I may be wrong to say this, but I think there is a definite halt to a citizen, or for that matter, maybe for an entrepreneur, or for any a business person, that we are left to our own destiny. We have government, we have many other systems, so-called complete mechanism for internal and external securities, but there's a lot of despair, in the mind of people, and people feel that they have to strengthen themselves if they have to survive. And I think this is definitely going to be a big churning. I think people are becoming more caring in terms of their own health. That's a good thing. I definitely see all my friends whom I know that they're taking care, a lot care of themselves. And that is primarily with respect to their process, I would call it, in what kind of, like taking a warm water, wearing mask, going for, doing exercises, also taking lots of fruits, or taking food, liquid diets, not taking heavy foods, and somehow or the other, making good stamina of the body. That's a good thing, I would say, because somewhere this realization was required. The man was becoming a robotic machine. I also realized recently when we all three, Danta, Shumaya, we were in Singapore. I wasn't happy by seeing the environment, working environment there. You remember, I was talking to all the drivers in all the cars we were sitting, and people were not happy, because they had to walk. They had no choice, but they had to walk. When we see that situation, and when we see this pandemic is still on, I think India is going to top very soon in terms of the number of cases, of the COVID cases. We are already number 2. And so we are still in pandemic. We are still, the threat is still growing. So I cannot predict, I cannot assume, I cannot say anything how the world is going to shape up. Of course, staying positive in this kind of a pandemic, even with this context, people have thought to shape themselves. And that realization is across the human chain, man, woman, even our kids are also, nowadays, they have become a little more caring. They are not asking for pizza that fast, not going out to eat out or something like that. I think that will also give a sense to the companies that they have to do something on their own. They have to stand on their own. This reporting mechanism, as Pallavi also mentioned one point in time, that this actually set in motion a sort of practice for an organizations to operate, and operate positively, operate futuristically, operate with the context, how things are happening around. So when companies are taking that context in the, I mean, the environment as a context, business context, the social context, and when we have already gone through this stage of pandemic, let us also bear in mind that countries like, I mean, I mean, India, Bangladesh, Indonesia, for that matter, I think we have a majority of us has a young generation. And if young generation do realize that this pandemic uh, is was never thought of, never thought out situations. I mean, the new generation would have not seen a clear blue sky, they would have not thought that Dhaka would be having, empty roads. I mean, that would be simply out of imagination. One would never think that Dhaka can be without vehicles on the roads. Come on, never. But it did happen, and they could see, they could see it. So it's such a major shift which they have seen in a life. With that thinking, I am definitely of the view that the young generations, the companies, everybody is going to be self-responsible. And I think when we talk about sustainability, when we talk about integrated reporting or reporting for that matter, the gentlemen like Mazudar Rahman and the Pallavi Atre, these people are doing a fantastic job in terms of promoting it. Putting a foundation for a company to be very strong, futuristic, and also looking at all these aspects. I think now, hereafter, I'm sure the new framework will also emerge. It will also talk, have we addressed pandemic? And earlier, if we would talk about it, maybe some owner of our organization would say, what rubbish, this consultant is talking about, in that context, I think people would be ready to, brainstorm more, what is more possible, what is all possible. So I think that way human mind is definitely going to be more futuristic, more pragmatic, more open. And these frameworks that way will be a foundation stones of referral for organizations. And I understand that it will make all good sense for organizations to move in this path. So, I mean, to conclude what Sumaya said, that what is happening in this part of the world, generally, the sense is that we shall continue this. This is a good thing. This help us, as Mr. Majumdar said, that it raises lots of confidence in the investor's eye, a lot of confidence to the employees of the organizations. It helps the organization for their own community, confidence to the organization. So in my sense, I mean, I mean, the number of companies which I am interacting with, all of them keep their affairs as it was. So therefore, it's a good thing. And that gives me a sense that yes, people have realization and we should continue this. So good news, it should continue, and good news for the Pallavi also to, have a lot of, opportunity as a business. So yeah. Back to you, Sumaya. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. We have total 4 questions. One questions by the attendees already given to Farhana Ferdowsi. The answer is also given. So, but I want to raise these questions because the other participants and the viewers who are watching this webinar, they can also know. So the question to Dr. Semardanta Pusaka. Uh, where is that question? Okay. So, Danta, can you see that question? Mm, I'm sorry. Okay. So does the company need to take this assurance once in its lifetime or need to take every year? Danta, in a short, if you can answer this
Yeah,
question.
Assurance not mandatory, but every time a company publish a report, it is recommended, yeah, to perform the assurance, because by doing assurance, an expert can review the report and give advice for improvement of the report. Whether it can be done at that reporting period or for the next reporting period. Yeah, that's my answers, Maya.
Okay, so there is a question to Mr. Majedur Rahman. I okay, so Mr. Majid, there is a question that is, as people knows you that you have a banking background and also as in DSE. So the question is, why bank will go for sustainability report? We see banks are doing some works in a school, or chairman or director contribute to their home district. How sustainability report in environment after working on social issues only by these things?
And the answer is very simple. Let me go back to the questionnaire himself or herself. If there are two banks, one is saying that, this is what I am doing to protect the environment or following the ESG standards, and the other is not doing it. Who will you choose? From your own conscience, you will choose the responsible one. You will choose because, he has a responsibility towards the greater interest of the mankind. You will choose because, they are responsible to take care of the entire humanity. And they have not achieved a standard whereby you can tell them, well, they are a champion, but they have started. The other one, if it has not. So that's why, when it comes to customer's choice, when it comes to the end beneficiary's choice, one has to be compliant. That's why I would say that, everyone should comply with this, because, nowadays we are all conscious that what are we doing to our ESG? What are we doing to our environment? Does that make my answer?
I got the answer. I think that the questionnaire also got
I
your
hope
point.
so.
So yes, we have to, as a stakeholder, I have all right to ask the bank, and I have all right to see the bank where I am investing my money. Because if I put a single penny to a bank, that means I investing 1 penny to this bank. So I have all rights to do this. So I also need to see whether the bank is compliant and whether the bank is doing the right thing, or if there is any gap, what the plan bank has, or what the process they are going to take in as a corrective action plan the bank is taking. So yes, we have to raise questions. I always raise question to banks. Well, so another question, another question to Dr. Danta. How sustainability reporting helps the supply chain to deliver end product or service successfully?
Sorry, which one is the question?
The question came in Facebook that how sustainability reporting help. The question, the answer can either from Dr. Danta or from Mr. Virendra. How sustainability reporting help the supply chain to deliver end product or service successfully?
Okay, probably Birendra can answer first.
Okay, I also
Okay.
after Virendra, I think that Pallavi can also add to this because it
I
is very
think so.
important question. I think.
I think
Huh?
so. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think the best practices, the standards which are available to us, be it in the form of ISO 26000, which we can refer, or UN Global Compact principles, 10 principles, or OECD guidelines, if we follow, or GRI framework, if we follow, or IR framework. So if you really look at these frameworks, these frameworks has definite forward and backward linkages. Let's be clear that I mean, the business is also like a family. We have I mean, you have grandchildren, you have son, you have grandchildren, and you know, something like that. So it's a value which is transferring and which is coming to the new generation. So in the similar fashion, I would see that when a company is giving a soap, let's say a soap, or let's talk about a car company. A car company, if you look at any car, I don't want to name anyone here, but if you look at any car maker, you would see in India that normally that car company is assembling the product out here. Now imagine a situation where our engine is coming from Japan, some parts are coming from China, a few of the parts are coming from ASEAN's all 10 countries put together, and there could be some precision component coming from Germany. Now, say if this company, which is assembling the product in New Delhi, does not have consistent, processes, standards to map all these supply chain vendors in a similar fashion. Imagine there is a male component coming in from China and a female component coming from Japan. And if there is an error of a even 2 mm error, so this component doesn't fit, a door doesn't fit into the chassis. So if you look at this engineering, I mean, engineering as one part, but again, the one will have to understand that this works like this. It has to fit into this. So that's a physical, that fitment is happening at a physical level. I would think that a company which is operating out of Vietnam and sending this component to Delhi will have to also mentally somewhere go down to that process and see to it that there is a component in Delhi where it has to fit in. So they have to add such a value that this swiftly fit into this component. And again, back to the metal company where from they are getting a metal, because we are going to check that metal also here. It has to comply to the composition form. So therefore, we have to necessarily bear in mind that this for an organization, for a company, for an organizations to be sustainable, they have to move, they have to essentially see to it that their product and services are sustainable. Let's face it, I mean, we cannot be theoretically sustainable. We have to be pragmatically sustainable, and the businesses operate and businesses exist because of the product and services they offer. So the product and services has to have these built-in robust practices. And even today, in today's context, it is very relevant. We talk about global village. You can imagine that you are sitting in Khulna, Mr. Majda may be sitting in right now in Dhaka, Mr. Danta is sitting in Jakarta, but I feel as if you are sitting just, in front of me, and actually you are in front of me. I can communicate to you, I can talk to you, I can see you, I can feel if you smile. If you do not smile, I can still sense what is happening. So in that sense, I think supply chains are very, very valuable, and this way sustainability reporting definitely ask the companies, guide the company. I would say it definitely guides the companies to really look at the critical components, critical processes, and address them so that whatever commitment they have to the client is being met. And in that context, I think when we are seeing a product and services matching to the requirement of client, from that very perspective, we are becoming a sustainable company. And therefore, I think this is obvious that any such reporting is forward linkage and has a backward linkage, and therefore very, very realistic to say that it has its supply chain impact. Thank you.
Thank
Back to
you.
you.
Thank you, Virendra. Pallavi, you want to add something to this question?
Yeah, sure, Sumaya and Virendra ji, I definitely, agree to what you said. What I think is that, the business case of why sustainability, for SMEs is
Can
quite
she
well
make the video
documented.
on?
Sorry, I'm facing problem with the connectivity if I make the video on. So better I put my
Okay.
audio on.
Okay.
So yeah, I was saying that the sustainability, why sustainability for SMEs is quite well documented for last 15 years now. The question is like, how is reporting going to add value? And it definitely does. Because without transparent reporting and communicating the sustainability work, the performance and the progress towards the goal that any SME has set for themselves, you won't be able to capture the value of reporting. And it has been seen even for the SMEs, there are a number of internal benefits and external benefits. And if there are benefits, internal, external, it is definitely going to add value to the end product. And of course, the delivery of the end product is what I believe. In terms of internal benefits, it's obvious that there is vision and strategy, which is help to be, SMEs can set their direction to around the vision and strategy for themselves. They can set up their management systems through the reporting process. They come to know what their strength and weakness is. And also it is very important for the internal employee motivation when they know that, the SME being such a small organization is, trying to be responsible as much as possible. Externally, definitely it adds to reputation and trust. It helps attracting capital, reducing risk through sustainability management and communication can, give those signals out in terms of, you are managing your quality well, you're good at management, providing potential for the new source of capital, and also build trust on your product. And also in the process you are doing stakeholder engagement, so it is an opportunity to engage with your customer and let them know that you're taking all these matters very seriously. And of course it adds to the competitive advantage because customers who are looking for suppliers uh, minimize environmental and are looking for, minimum environmental and social risks. So this definitely adds value, and if it is the process is adding value, it is definitely going to help deliver a better product in a better way. Yes, Sumaya.
Okay. Thank you, Pallavi. Danta, you want to say anything?
Yes. When we talk about
We are
sustainability report,
running our time short. So if you can shorten your
yeah,
answer, then it would be
yes,
good.
absolutely. Okay. First, when we talk about ESG reporting or sustainability reporting or even integrated reporting, uh, the report communicates the risks and opportunities on ESG, environment, social, and governance. Okay, when we talk about the risks and opportunities in the business setting, we we must include also the risks and opportunities in our supply chain. You know, so that is why ESG reporting is very relevant. For example, in measuring or communicating our risks and opportunities in our business setting, covering our supply chain also, how the and also the reporting, ESG reporting can also add its value to the supply chain. Okay, I agree with both Virendra and Pallavi that right now, no one in this world, no one in this world would like to engage with supply chain with a very high risk organization, especially in terms of environment and social aspect. Yeah. Okay,
Thank you,
so
Dr. Danta. And thank you, all the speakers. I am really grateful to all of you for your valuable insights on the sustainability reporting and as well as the assurance. Thank you, Mr. Majidur Rahman. You you came with the call of my short notice invitation, and also Pallavi, Dr. Danta, and Virendra. And I am also inviting the people who are watching this webinar and also attendees. Tomorrow we have another webinar on CSR, corporate social responsibility to combat pandemic. Here our speakers will be from former focal point of IICA, who was the focal point of CSR guideline in India, and also representative from Bangladesh Bank, and also representative from a multinational company and a local company. So yes, thank you everybody, and I wish you have a good night.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
and good
Thank
evening.
you.
bye bye, bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Bye bye.